Hey everyone, this is Renier. Today we're going to analyze a game played in the European Team Championship between C.Bauer of France and Ilyas Mirin from Israel. Okay, the game features a Torres system against the King's Indian, and if you follow the games of this tournament, of this event, you may have seen this game, and perhaps like me you didn't understand really what went wrong and how a strong grandmaster like Smirin could lose this way. Let's start with the game and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, Bauer is, by the way, he did an excellent tournament. At some point he was with 7 points out of 8 or 6 out of 7, don't remember very well, but something like that. His games were just amazing, using different openings in every game. Very, very creative play. Well, that's his style. He's a very interesting player with very unusual openings, sort of like Morosevic at a lower level, but still very, very strong. Okay, Bauer with the white pieces now plays knight f3, g6, and bishop g5. Usually for a King's Indian player, this is kind of unpleasant because not because it creates concrete problems for black, but the character of the game has nothing to do with the King's Indian anymore. So psychologically, black must be has to change the way of thinking now. Okay, he has to settle for equal positions or slightly worse, little bit slower play than in the normal King's Indian lines. Okay, bishop g7, knight bd2, castle. Now white plays c3. This is currently the main line, and black plays d5. I believe Smirin had played this way before. Another option is to play in the King's Indian style with d6, followed with knight bd7, queen e8 to unpin the knight on f6, and later e5. Okay, but d5, e3, and now black play knight bd7. This is the way Smirin used to play. The plan is rook e8 and free black's game with e7, e5. Okay, another option is c6, a move that I play myself, but I believe that it's not enough to equalize. After bishop d3, bishop g4, h3, bishop takes, knight takes on f3, knight bd7. White can castle, rook e8, and now in many games, for some reason, white allows e5, but I believe that after bishop f4, black is a little worse in this position. If we think about it, there is nothing to believe that black has equalized yet, because white has the bishop pair, there is no e5 yet, and at some point I guess white can play c4 and open the c file. I don't know, even if it's just a little bit, I believe that black's chances are inferior in this position. Okay, I like white's position here with the idea of c4 on the next move. Okay, but it's still, of course, it's not a great deal, that position. It's just normal position. I believe white is better. Okay, after knight bd7, bishop d3, rook e8, castle, and we're coming into the critical position. Now black played e5, and white surprisingly played e4. And I believe that this is a very interesting move, critical for the whole line, because if this move works, then we are in a critical line for black, because playing this way it can be at least risky. The alternative is not any good. D takes on e5, knight takes on e5. We arrive in the same structure as before, only that after e5 is played, the position is about equal. h3, c6, queen c2, queen b6. there is nothing to play for. Actually, here, um, in one game, white took on f6, and he was already worse after the loss of the bishop pair. Bishop e6, rook e1, rook d8. Black went on to win this position, and yes, this is very, very good for black because of the bishop pair. Of course, bishop f6 is a bad move, strategical mistake. So, okay, but let's focus on e4 now. White. Okay, what black has to make a decision. Basically, he must capture on d4 and later on e4. It makes no difference which pawn he takes first. After d takes on e4, knight takes on e4, c takes d4 is basically the same position that we'll see in the game. Okay, e takes d4, c takes d4, and now black took on e4. Okay, as an alternative, we can think about h6, perhaps the best move. Then white has to take on f6, otherwise, if bishop h4, d takes on e4, knight takes, black has rook takes on e4. That is a very important motive here, because after bishop takes, g5, black is better. He wins the e4 bishop. So bishop f6, knight takes f6, e5, and in this position, black can play knight h5. It looks bad to move the knight this way, but it cannot be attacked. And also, the knight doesn't cover the bishop from c8. The knight is threatening right now knight f4. Black will play c6. The position is very solid, and I have no idea how white was thinking to continue from here. I believe perhaps knight b3 or rook e1 to hide the bishop on f1. But in general, I think that black's position is okay. I recommend this way of playing. If you ever face this line, if you play like this, but d takes on e4 opens a new kind of game, a game in which white has an isolated pawn in the center, but his minor pieces are all very active, and the queen can come into play very quickly via b3, for example. Knight takes on e4, and now black played h6. It may seem strange, but this position is already dangerous, very dangerous for black. And h6 perhaps is the only move or the most precise move right now. If other move, let's say knight f8, in order to simply develop or to play knight e6, then white will play rook e1, and after knight e6, white will not retreat, he will just play bishop c4. It defends the pawn on d4, and it also creates some pressure on the diagonal. Now after knight takes g5, knight e takes g5, we can say that black is already lost. He cannot defend f7 in a good way, and after rook f8, knight takes f7, rook takes f7, knight e5, knight d5, take, queen f3, black can resign. So h6 has to be played, and here comes the move that will impress everyone. And I thought the move was a discovery by Bauer, but then when I checked the database, it had been played before, and it was kind of disappointing because it's a very Bauer style, this next move we're going to see. White went queen b3. It's an amazing move, leaving the bishop there on g5 and putting pressure on f7. It's a good counter attack. Obviously, if pawn takes g5 after knight e g5, there is no way he can defend f7 and g6 at the same time. So it's already very tricky position. So taking on g5 is simply out of the question. He will lose the g6 pawn at least, and also the f7 pawn, because then bishop takes, white will get at least 3 pawns and an attack for the bishop on g5. I also must say that queen b3 is the is a good move, but is perhaps the only move, because other moves allow black to consolidate with g5 and knight b6, and his position is okay. Okay, after h6, queen b3, black played rook e6. As an alternative, we can consider rook e7, defending the pawn on f7, but also unpinning the knight on f6. So here, one idea could be knight e5, and perhaps this is the strongest move, although it's not decisive. Then, if black takes on e5, white gets an advantage after knight takes on f6, king h8, d takes on e5, pawn takes g5, the material is even again, but now white has this knight on f6, and for black it's not easy to organize his pieces and to get a good position. With natural moves, rook e1, for instance, white keeps the better position. Bishop takes on f6, pawn takes, rook e1, rook takes on e1. And okay, rook e8 is sometimes a threat, also bishop c4 for example. So if bishop e6, queen takes b7, rook b8, queen f3, rook takes b2, white has bishop takes g6, pawn takes e6 and f7, which wins the game. It's threatening f8 and also threatening queen c3, check. So after rook b8, h4, now the bishop on e6 is under attack, and also queen c3 is in the cards. If the bishop moves, then there is rook e8, so white wins. By the way, rook a to e1 is a novelty. Previously queen c3 had been played and is also very strong, but this move seems better. I think that black cannot take on f6. Well, after bishop takes, rook takes e1, rook takes, and queen takes on f6 should be a bad move, because after rook e8, the bishop on c8 won't be able to develop, and I'm not sure if there is a straight tactical reason right here. I'm thinking that perhaps queen takes on f6, rook e8, king g7 for example, allows some kind of move, bishop move somewhere. I'm thinking perhaps bishop f5. I'm not sure if it works. The idea is that after g takes on f5, queen h3, and white is threatening queen h8. And then if queen h6 or anything else, then rook g8 wins the queen. I hope you're following me. So queen f6, rook e8, king g7, maybe bishop f5. G takes f5, queen h3, and if queen takes f5, then queen c3 check, and if queen f6, rook g8, and if f6, queen takes e7. These lines, I did not work it beforehand, I just saw it right now. So that's why I cannot move it on the board, but I hope you can follow me. And of course, leave your comments if you have any, if you find any mistakes or suggestions. Okay, so after this knight e5, perhaps better is to take the bishop. However, white has knight takes f7, which is very wild. Look at the tactics that we will see now. If rook takes f7, sorry, knight c5 is the best defense. Knight takes g5, and white is absolutely winning. There are two threats, queen f7, bishop c4, bishop g6, too many threats right now. Then after knight e5, d takes on e5, knight d5, knight takes, king takes, rook d1, c6, white can play e6, and after, well, king takes e6, bishop g6 followed by rook f e1 gives white very strong attack. So bishop takes, and then queen takes b7, king g8, queen takes e6. Black's position simply collapses. The knight on d5 loses the support of the pawn. Also g6 pawn is weak. The diagonal, the pin of the knight with bishop c4. So after knight f7, black will have to find the best defense, that is knight c5. Amazing move too. Attacking the queen, but the knight goes to a square that is attacked not only by the pawn but also the knight on e4. Now after knight f6, well, if knight d8 check, he simply captures the queen and then takes on e4. There is no secret here. So, and okay, also after d takes c5, I think black could play bishop e6. That's the point. So knight f6, bishop takes on f6, d takes c5. Now, obviously, rook f7, and after bishop g6, he can defend. There are no more knights. White cannot attack anymore the rook on f7, so he has to play active in this position. But still, I believe that the position is not easy to crack, because with the two bishops, it's very unlikely that black doesn't have any defense. Queen b4, attacking the pawn on g4, and then bishop d7, with the idea of bishop c6 and rook e8. Doesn't matter if he takes g4. After king h8, the g file may be useful for black anyway. So you can see it's very complicated position. Perhaps there is a point in which either side can make a turn and not go into this position, but according to what I analyzed, this was pretty much forced. Okay, it's easier to see it from home in a computer than in a game. In a game you see all kind of ghosts in this type of positions. Very difficult to come out of alive in this exact position. Okay, 95 was an option. If that was too complicated, fortunately for white, he has another move that is worth playing. Also amazing, rook a to e1. Now leaving the bishop again for a second time on g5, supporting the knight on e4. So black must take, there is no other way. Now knight takes g5. The threat is bishop g6. So knight f8, knight takes on f7, rook takes, and bishop c4. Now there are two moves black can play now to get out of the pin. Defending the rook with the queen is useless and impossible. After queen d7, knight e5 wins on the spot. So that move is first knight e6, perhaps the best move. I'm not sure which move would be better. Rook takes on e6, and now b5. Another great tactic, trying to deviate the pressure from this diagonal. Either if the bishop takes or the queen takes, it will mean less pressure on f7. So queen takes b5, bishop takes on a6, bishop takes, and now queen e8, attacking the queen and the bishop at the same time. After queen b3, king f8, bishop takes on f7, queen takes on f7. Alright, white has 3 pawns for a piece. Obviously, he has more than just simple compensation. The black king is a little bit weak, g6 pawn is weak, knight e5 is coming next, c7 pawn. Every black pawn is weak, so even if black can make a good defense, his position shouldn't be more than just equal. Queen c7, king g8, and now g3, giving the white king some air, and yeah, perhaps he can hold to a draw. Oh, look that black cannot really take on b2 or anything. Moving the knight also dangerous. So I believe white is better, even though I don't think the win is guaranteed. Difficult to know what's going on. But also, if you think about it, I don't know, queen d5 or something is simply met with queen takes on a7, and the black queen cannot leave this diagonal. So knight e6 doesn't fully equalize, and the option is bishop e6. Then again, after rook takes on e6, b5, same idea, queen takes b5, and now not take on e6 but play rook ba first. And here two interesting options for white. One is queen a6, then after knight d5, knight e5, bishop takes, rook takes on e5, rook b6, queen takes, c6, queen a5. The position remains with the same dynamic. This is complicated. White has, in this case, 4 pawns for the piece, but black has managed to blockade this diagonal. I believe white is better in this position. Not winning yet, of course. And the other option, instead of queen a6, is to take b8, which is kind of amazing too. Queen takes b8, queen takes, and then rook e7. Okay, white will get the piece back after bishop f7. He has pawns and a rook and 2 pieces for the queen. Queen takes b2 and rook takes e7. White is not winning. Shouldn't be winning in this position, but it remains a complicated position in which white can win. I mean, somehow it's easier to play with white. He just has to wait for a mistake. Knight e5 is coming, rook a7 too, and black has all the pressure of organizing his pieces. I believe that in practical games it's a difficult position to play with black. Okay, let's go back to the main game in which Smith played rook e6. Then bishop h4, and now black played g5. Perhaps this was asking for trouble. Difficult to say why Smith played such decision. The alternative looked reasonable, and the alternative was to play c6. Then white could play knight c3 with the ideas of d5, and after knight b6, h3, knight bd5, bishop c4, white keeps a strong pressure in black's position. Rook e1, rook a to d1, bishop g3, everything looks very good for white. Okay, but after g5, black simply unleash a lot of complications in this position, and perhaps he has the worst part of this game. Now white played bishop takes g5. This is a nice sacrifice that gives white a lasting initiative, even though it doesn't win by force. D takes g5, knight takes, and now black makes a decisive mistake. He plays knight b6. Kind of strange too, considering that knight f8 or even queen e7 were reasonable options. The problem with queen e7 is that white doesn't take on e6, instead he plays rook e1 with the threat of knight takes on e6 and rook takes on e6. Then the discovered attack. After knight f8, knight takes on e6, pawn takes on e6 is forced, otherwise d5 wins. And now rook d1. Okay, black cannot develop his pieces, the bishop on d7 is stuck, the knight on e5 is coming. So I believe that white has very good chances of winning here. I mean, it's clearly better. There is no way we can talk about compensation, material unbalance, something like that. I believe that white position is much better. But okay, it's still not completely lost for black. Knight f8 was the better option. And after knight e5, bishop c4 doesn't lead to anything, but black must find a very strange defense. Here the best defense would be a5. What's the idea of a5? It's not to get, well, it frees the rook to go to a6 if needed, or to a5, but also threatening a4, moving the queen away from this diagonal that is putting pressure on f7. So this is something to learn. When you have a tough position, something like that, sometimes we must look at ideas like this to find accurate defense. Then after rook a to a1, for example, a4, queen d3, and now more defensive resources. b5. Truly amazing. The bishop is forced now to take on e6, And after knight takes on e6, black has gotten his pieces out, and somehow he's surviving. Okay, so bishop c4 is not the best move. Knight e5 is slightly better. Then, if queen d4, knight takes on f7, and again we can apply the same defense, a5. After rook d1, a4, queen a3, queen h4, g3, queen h5, bishop c4, and again the same idea, b5. After bishop takes b5, rook a5, bishop c4, bishop a6. You can see that all of these crazy moves, black is trying to trade off black's active pieces. This is one of the things that Dorfman mentions in his books. When you are under pressure, when you are under attack, some of the defense methods are to trade your opponent's active pieces, and here, at the cost of giving pawns, at the cost of sacrificing pawns, that's what black is trying to do. Then here, bishop takes on a6, rook takes on a6, h4. Still black is under a lot of pressure, but it's not lost. He's up a piece, well, for 3 pawns. His pieces look discoordinated, he has weaknesses everywhere. He has to live with a knight on f7 and another knight on g5. Clearly he's worse, but I don't know if there is room for both sides to make mistakes, and the game is pretty much not over, I mean. So that's with queen takes d4. Another option is the solid move c6. Then if knight f7, queen b6 with the idea of trading the queen. Queen a3, knight d5, knight takes on a6, bishop takes on a6, knight g5, check on h7, king h8, and now bishop e4. Again, another complicated position. In this case, white has a rook for 2 pieces and 2 pawns, so the position is, and black's king is also weak, but with the minor pieces, especially the 2 bishops and everything, black can, I guess he can create some counterplay. Still everything remains unclear. Okay, this is with knight f8. In the game, knight b6 allows white to make a very pretty move. Okay, perhaps after knight takes on a6, bishop takes on a6, there is no doubt that black is doing fine. Even though the material is about balance, he has a good outpost on d5, the 2 bishops, he has no pressure on his king. So I guess his position is just fine. Schmidt may have missed this move that Bauer played, bishop g6. A great attacking move, attacking f7 and forcing the capture on g6. That's the most important thing. After this move, black's position collapses. Pawn takes g6, knight takes on e6. Again, bishop takes on e6 force, queen takes, king f8, and now knight e5. Another option is simply to bring the rook into play with queen b3, with the idea of knight g5 and then move the queen to give a check on e6. But knight e5 is, well, when you are in such position, you want to stay with the initiative, keep creating threats with every move. So knight e5, queen e8 is forced, and now queen b3. There were other options, queen h3 for instance, then after rook d8. If knight fd5, white would play f4 with the idea of f5 opening the f-file against the black king. If rook d8, then rook a to e1, rook takes d4. Now queen g3, simple enough with the threat of knight g6. I don't know what black can do. Or queen c3 is good too. Then after rook a4, queen c2, and after king g8, b3, rook e4. This is a good resource. Rook takes, knight takes on e4, queen takes on e4, queen takes on e5. Yes, black managed to trade a few pieces, but after queen b7, white is still better. He has nothing to worry about. He will take pawns, then he will advance the a pawn, and with the black king so open, he's always in trouble. Even queen e8 was an option in this position. Then after knight e8, knight g6, king g8, rook d1. However, black has some counterplay with knight a4. He will play rook d8 next, put pressure on d4, b2. This is less clear. But queen b3, the move Bauer played in the game, is also strong. But perhaps the best was queen h3, like I said. Okay, after queen b3, black played knight fd5, a good move. White went f4. And now, black made the last mistake. He took on e5. It's an incredible mistake by Smithing. The threat is f5, so it's difficult to know why didn't he stop it with queen e6. Then if queen d3, to renew the threat of f5, he could play knight e7, and there is no way that white can play f5 on the short term. Now queen f5 is the next move. And if rook a to e1, king g8, getting out of the checks of the knight, and after queen c2, queen f5, and he blockades the position, and without f4, f5, it's difficult for the white rooks to get into play. Let's see what happened after Smithing took on e5. Now with the f file open, things are much easier for white. King g7, he thought that the knight on d5 would be enough to defend the position because it covers f6 and the other pieces could cover f7. So white may look like he doesn't have entry squares, but this is not true. f6 is still an entry square after the double, after white doubles rooks. So he goes rook f2, queen e7, rook f1. Black can never play rook f8, so he goes rook h8, queen g3, rook h5, and now rook f6. Finally, with an attack on g6. Black must defend it with queen e8, rook f3. Some ideas now with queen f2. Now, for instance, if the queen goes back to a6, white plays queen f2, threatening rook f7, and after rook f5, he wins another pawn. So now he has 3 pawns and a rook for just 2 knights, and this position would be clearly winning. Besides, the king is cut, and e6 will be strong enough to win. So black went queen e7, and now the repeated moves here, queen e8, rook back to f3, queen e7. Now white went queen f2. Obviously, white doesn't want to make a draw, and he's threatening to win with rook f7. That's it. Black went queen h4, and everything ends pretty fast. g3. Another option was a straightforward rook f7, after king h6, g3, and after queen e4, rook e1, and after queen g4, e6. Now there is nothing black can do. e7 is a threat. I think it's a good moment to resign. So after queen h4, he played g3, and after queen e4, he played g4, and this is it, game over. Because if queen takes g4, rook g3, and after queen moves, queen f8 or queen f7. If the queen moves to e6, white plays queen f8. If the queen moves to c8, then queen f7 and mate on g6. So here he just has to resign. Nothing black can do. If rook h8, rook f7 wins. King h6, queen h4, checkmate. and so on. Okay, everyone, this is it for now. Thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this game, and if you had seen it before, following the event, just like I said, it got your attention. The game got your attention because everything happened so quickly and so fast that even for me, I couldn't believe what was happening. So I had to take a look. As usual, leave your comments in the forum, and also if you have any subject, any game that you would like to see analyzed, let me know.